they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have.
This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer, you are under the microscope. Today we had a motion for Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood, put in a motion to withdraw from Mustafa's case. We're going to talk about what went on in this motion. And Judge Carol Weimer, denied that Brad Haywood withdraw himself from Mustafa's case. Now, Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood, has been on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year. The government gave Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood, over $100,000 to hire an independent expert to reconstruct the vehicle accident, hire another independent expert to extract the dash camera and the audio off the SD card that the police department is in possession of. So far, Brad Haywood hasn't done the reconstruction, has not done the reconstruction. Brad Haywood so far has not done the extraction of the SD card. And when Mustafa asked his defense attorney, Brad Haywood, hey, Brad, where is my reconstruction that Judge Carol Weimer ordered? Where is the reconstruction? Where is the extraction?
By the end of September, by the way.
By the end of September. Brad Haywood tell Mustafa, dude, fuck off. And he hangs up the phone. Next thing you know, Brad Haywood wants to get out of the case because Mustafa asked his lawyer for the most basic thing in this whole entire case. Now, we're going to go into the details of what Brad Haywood is doing in the Mustafa Aljazairi case. And we're going to ask the question, is Brad Haywood compromised? Now, Brad Haywood is a lawyer that just opened his law firm. He used to be the top public defender for, I believe, Fairfax.
Northern Virginia. Yeah.
Northern Virginia. Now he has his own practice. He runs a civil rights organization. So Brad Haywood is building a name for himself. And the question is, if that's what he's doing in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, what is he doing to his other clients? We're going to put Brad Haywood under the microscope. Now, I'm not going to say he's compromised. I'm going to report on what took place in today's hearing, and the community is the deciding factor. Is Brad Haywood making deals with the prosecutor behind his client's back? You're going to decide. I want to thank Muhammad for being here. Muhammad, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. The real question is Brad Haywood making the best decisions that are in Mustafa's favor? That's the real question. Okay. Now, I read today's notes, the transcript essentially from...
I gave you a lot of notes.
Lots of notes.
A lot of notes.
Lots and lots of notes. There's a lot to go over. And
I mean, it felt like Mustafa was going up against two prosecutors.
Really, that's really what it felt like. It felt like he had no defense attorney. I mean, the hearing started off by Brad telling the judge why he cannot represent Mustafa. He's asking the judge that he wants to be out of the case. He's done with it. He can't defend Mustafa. And I find his excuse as to why he can't defend Mustafa or why he can't represent Mustafa, it's a very weak point. I mean, extremely, extremely weak. Citing...
He said lack of communication with Mustafa.
Citing lack of communication.
Now, my problem is Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood, has been Mustafa's lawyer for a whole entire year. You've had no problem communicating with Mustafa for a whole entire year. Now, what happened now that you can't communicate with Mustafa anymore all of a sudden? What is Mustafa asking you that you're saying, I can't communicate with Mustafa?
Well, okay, let's back up a little bit. Okay, let's slow down. Let's back up. There was a Brady motion that was filed. Brad was aggressive. Okay, he was assertive. He knew what he wanted out of the prosecutor. He knew what he wanted from the judge. And that was a very, reading the transcript, that was a very informative hearing. It was a very strong motion that he argued. That the prosecutor, with her knowledge, that she redacted certain body cams. There are tons of body cams missing, crucial body cams, from Drum, from Mason. He made the point that the children were weaponized by the police. He made the point that there was a strong bias against Mustafa the moment Officer Casey Fines inserted this thing about drugs, Mustafa being a known drug user, which was a lie. And
he made the point that Mustafa's vehicle was blocked by the prosecutor.
That it was not inspected.
2.5 years ago, when there's a judge order and an independent expert paid by Mustafa, the prosecutor blocked the reconstruction.
He made a lot of points, okay? He made a lot of points, and based off of that motion, there was some demand for material. And the prosecutor's final words were to the judge is, Your Honor, I'm going to look into this material and I'm going to produce it to the defense, okay? You and Brad were on good terms. Mustafa and Brad.
Me and Brad had an amazing relationship. We're on the phone constantly. Me and Brad, we communicate. We text. We have a lot of phone calls. And we have an amazing relationship.
Okay.
Now, what happened all of a sudden after he filed the Brady motion?
What? So
Brad is a completely different person.
He is. I have to agree. He's a completely different person. Personality-wise, just his tone is different. And, I mean, he really does not want to be on this case. He says it to the judge. He says, I cannot, specifically, he says, I'm going to quote him. Okay. He says, Your Honor, Mustafa wants me to do things that I just simply cannot do. Okay.
Now, wait, hold on now. Mustafa is asking me things that I cannot.
Mustafa is asking him to do things that he just cannot do. Mustafa is asking for things that Brad feels like he just cannot do it. So I'll ask you the question that you had with Brad.
I had a phone call with Brad.
You had a phone call with Brad. Mustafa also had a phone call with Brad, and you two were...
We're asking Brad the same thing.
You're asking Brad the same thing. Okay.
We asked, there are 3 things that Brad were asked to produce to Mustafa. Not to me. I didn't ask him to give me that material. I told him that your client is asking you to produce 3 things to him. The extraction that was ordered by the judge.
From the dash camera.
From the dash camera. Judge Weimer ordered that an independent expert extract the metadata of the SD card from the dash camera that the police is in possession of. Now that you know that Officer Zimes admit that this dash camera does have audio, and you have the officer that handled the dash camera, tampered with the dash camera, Chad Mason, the judge ordered for an independent expert to go in and extract the SD card. Now, that's one of the things that Mustafa is asking for. He asked his lawyer, he said, where is my extraction from the SD card? Where's my dash camera?
We'll get back to that.
Where's my audio? Now, that's 1. 2, Mustafa asked Brad Haywood, where is the reconstruction from my vehicle accident? Okay. Judge Weimer gave an order to hire an independent expert to go in and reconstruct my vehicle accident. Where is the reconstruction? Where is the result?
Asking for the steering angle, extracting the raw data from the airbag control module or the ACM. Okay, that's number 2.
And 3.
Number 3 is a big one.
Where is the my text? Can you go over the text communication? Where's the cell phone data dump? The prosecutor gave you a flash drive with my cell phone, a hard drive with my cell phone dump. It has my cell phone on it. It has my girlfriend's
Dorothy's 3 phones.
Dorothy's 3 phones. I want to go over the communication between Dorothy. Who was Dorothy communicating with before my vehicle accident?
Fair point.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And by the way, Mustafa has been in a relationship with Dorothy for 3 months. So it doesn't take that long to go over text communication. Mustafa wants to go through his communication. Mustafa wants to go in his cell phone. Mustafa wants to go in Dorothy's cell phone.
I mean, listen.
And the reason that's relevant.
Brad is telling Mustafa, the point Brad is trying to make to Mustafa, he says there's more important things that we need to focus on other than the cell phone data dump. Now, the moment the phone data becomes relevant because you have a body cam where Officer Rob Davis is weaponizing Glenn Ford. And in that conversation, Glenn Ford says, Dorothy supposedly texted me. She confided in me. She was talking to me behind Mustafa's back. That's one. Communication with Glenn Ford and Dorothy. Okay, number two is Mustafa says on the day of the accident, right before they left, Dorothy had Apple cashed him. Apple paid him $25 for gas. That's relevant. Okay, prosecutor wants to say Mustafa has a bad relationship with Dorothy. Mustafa says that's not true. Dorothy gave me money that day so I can take her to the cemetery. And the communication is going to it's going to support Mustafa's defense against these baseless, false allegations. And number three is Brad doesn't have to be there to hold Mustafa's hands and read the text communication form.
Not only that,
you can print that out,
absolutely,
and you can give it to Mustafa
and let him review it.
But what is this pushback? Why is there such a pushback on this communication?
Not only is the communication between Mustafa and Dorothy, the communication between Dorothy, Mustafa's girlfriend, and her 16-year-old daughter, Kylie Clapp, is relevant because Kylie is being used by the Commonwealth Attorney as the star witness in this case. Now, we have a forensic interview of 16-year-old Kylie, where Kylie, in her own word, in a forensic interview, says, I wasn't there, I didn't see anything, but she began trashing Mustafa, coming up with a story about Mustafa, and then she ends the forensic interview telling the forensic interviewer, I wasn't there, I didn't see anything. Now, wait a minute. And then she said, my mom blocked me.
So her mom blocked her.
Her mom blocked her. The question here is there animosity between her? Is there a connection between Kylie Clapp and other individuals that have a problem with Mustafa? We know from Kylie's own mouth on a recorded line, Kylie came out
in a forensic interview.
In a forensic interview, and she went online and says, my dad works for a club owner that has a major problem with Mustafa out of Crystal City. Now, wait a minute.
I think something that's a little bit more important than that is that Kylie Clapp says, my mom chose Mustafa over me.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if the prosecutor wants to say this is a abusive man, he has a bad relationship with Dorothy, well, I mean, this is, it goes in line with formulating a defense against baseless allegations, baseless accusations. And that's where this phone data dump, this communication is relevant. And why, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, why is there such a strong pushback on this communication? I mean, we know Blake Weiner, who's Mustafa's previously paid attorney. We paid him money to take on this case. And Blake wouldn't go over the communication with Mustafa. Okay? We know that Elaine Jarvis, who was also a paid attorney that got onto Mustafa's case and on the criminal side, and she would not mention anything about the data communication. And she was physically mailed the hard drive by Blake Weiner. And when a week before Mustafa's trial that was supposed to take place last year, Blake looks at Mustafa and he says, I didn't go through the data dump. I didn't go through the cell phone data. Elaine was supposed to do it. And then Elaine says, I didn't do it. And now you have two lawyers that somehow just glossed over this material fact that there is a 1 terabyte hard drive with all this communication, and Elaine Jarvis, Blake Weiner, and now Brad Haywood, who also, by the way, hired a private investigator to assist him in the case. Why is it so hard for one of these people that are paid, by the way, they're getting paid.
Okay, let's take a step back.
Why is it so hard for them to
There's a lot of pushback.
Take this communication and show it to Mustafa. Why is there such a pushback?
Especially when the prosecutor is accusing Mustafa that he has a bad relationship with his girlfriend. He has a bad relationship with the children. The cell phone communication should shed light on whether Mustafa has a good relationship with his girlfriend, with his family, or doesn't. Right? That's the first thing you go into. Now, let's take a step back and look at what happened. I mean, this is a vehicle accident. Mustafa gets in a vehicle accident, loses his family in a vehicle accident. His girlfriend, her 5-year-old baby, die in a car accident. Mustafa gets helicoptered to the hospital. He's in a coma. He wakes up out of a coma to have his police report falsified. The vehicle is crushed and staged. The dash camera cut and muted by the police. The children, a 9, a 10, a 14, a 16, is weaponized against Mustafa. Now, let's take a step back and look at who Mustafa Aljazairi is before the vehicle accident. Now, I think that's relevant to the conversation when you find out that Mustafa was suing the police and there was a $500,000 settlement that Mustafa's defense attorney at the time was negotiating with the police department at the time. Now, the real question is, Mustafa meets Dorothy in December. Mustafa is with Dorothy for just about 3 months long. That's how long the relationship is. Through our investigation, we found out that Mustafa's girlfriend has a 16-year-old daughter that does not live with her, lives with her dad. Separated by CPS before Mustafa meets Dorothy, his girlfriend. Now, we're finding out that the 16-year-old daughter, in a forensic interview, says, my mom blocked me and she chose Mustafa over me. Now, that's a very interesting conversation. Why did your mother block you? Now, when you find out that this 16-year-old daughter, her dad works for a club owner that literally wanted to kill Mustafa a month before Mustafa meets Dorothy. The question here is, Mustafa is suing the police. He has over $500,000 settlement. He's got this giant problem with this club owner that now we're finding out the 16-year-old daughter is hanging out with the strippers out of that club, Billy Bain Jr. out of Crystal City, his strippers. Her dad works for that club. The question here is, did the police who were investigating Mustafa because they were, I mean, when you sue the police,
Mustafa.
You're suing the police. You have a lawyer and the police has a lawyer. You have a private investigator. The police has a private investigator. The question here is, did the police, and were the police in communication with Kylie?
That's a very good question.
Mustafa? We know Billy Bain Jr. pays a lot of money to the police. That's a giant club out of Crystal City. You want to convince me that police are not communicating with Kylie against Mustafa before the vehicle accident? I mean, one way to find out is go through the text communication. I mean, Dorothy's cell phone. Go through the cell phone. What is she telling Kylie? And what did she block her daughter for? Her daughter says, Mom chose Mustafa over me. Now, I have Kylie, 16-year-old. I have the ex-boyfriend, Dorothy's ex-boyfriend, Glenford, on a recorded line. He said that Kylie, a month before the vehicle accident, came up to him and asked him to kill Mustafa. Now, the question is, why is a 16-year-old
who's never met Mustafa but once?
Who never met Mustafa but once.
She interacted with him one time.
Is she being pushed to kill Mustafa? Is she being pushed? I mean...
Well, we know it's not her.
We know it's not her. She
doesn't know Mustafa.
Who's communicating with Kylie? And who's protecting this communication? The first lawyer? The second lawyer? Now Brad Haywood? I mean... all I asked Brad Haywood, I told him, your client wants to go through the cell phone communication, and he completely changed into a completely different person. He shut down. I mean, today he's telling Judge Weimer, he said, my client is asking me for something I cannot do.
What is it that you can't do?
What is he asking you? He's asking you for the communication the text communication. He's asking you for the reconstruction of the vehicle accident. He's asking you for the extraction of the dash camera and the audio. That's it. I mean, how basic is this?
It looks like the communication is a red line.
I'll tell you what you're going to find on this text, on this communication, is you're going to find the same officers that are falsifying this case are in communication with 16-year-old Kylie before the vehicle accident. I mean, you want to...
I want to say Rob Sermon, who on the scene said they were briefed about Mustafa. I mean, this is on the scene of the car accident. He's saying, we were briefed about him. I didn't recognize him at first, but now I know who that is. We were briefed about him, and then his body cam mutes.
Do me a favor, go over to exhibit.
Okay.
Now, I have a body cam where Rob Sermon, who in other body cams says he lives in our county, Stafford.
He lives in Stafford.
Now, he says, he comes up to the main investigator and he says, I've been briefed about Mustafa. Let's watch that body cam.
Hey, I talked to Grantham on the other one, and he said that it looked like. So we're good. We're good.
Sorry.
Everything's
I'll call you next time.
Hey, can I be honest with you? I don't even know. That cat. I do now. I remember now that it was brought up.
I didn't even know that cat. I know now. I know he was brought up.
He remembers him now that he was brought up.
What, and then
was
they
Mustafa
mute.
brought up about?
And by the way, and then they mute the body cam. So you can.
Okay.
What were you briefed about Mustafa?
And then later,
we know that Mustafa had a lawsuit against the police.
And then later, Robert Drum says, Rob is about to brief us. What was Rob?
And then they mute.
What was Rob briefing all the officers on the scene? What was he briefing them about with regards to Mustafa? I mean, you look at this whole case, according to Brad, by the way, that this is a falsified case. That Mustafa's innocent.
And he said that today.
And the police fabricated this lie. They manipulated evidence. They tampered with witnesses, destroyed evidence. They hid his dash cam for 2.5 years. They blocked the reconstruction of the accident, which is, why we're here today. Okay? And you have Brad Haywood, who says in court that this is a falsified case. But he's saying that Mustafa is asking him for something he simply cannot do. So the real question is, was Brad threatened? Was he threatened by the police?
That's a good question.
And by the way, we don't have to speculate if he was threatened, because there's actually a conversation where Brad tells us when he was first assigned the case, he tells us that he got a phone call from a female. This one, okay. You just answered that?
No, I just turned it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brad Haywood tells us.
So let's back up a little bit. So Brad Haywood tell us the family.
I asked the question.
Yeah.
Has Brad Haywood...
We have a phone call where Brad is telling us that he was threatened.
He's telling us he was threatened by a female when he was assigned the case. Okay, she told him to stay away from Mustafa's case. In his own words, he said, a female called me and threatened me. She threatened me to stay away from this case. Okay, now the real question is, did he report it to the authorities? That's one. Number two, did he tell the judge that he was threatened? Because, according to every transcript we're reading today, this is a case against corrupt police officers. You're going up against the police department, because we know that internal affairs is now involved and they're attempting to cover up the police's lies.
Well, did you know that Brad Haywood withdrew what he put on the Brady because the judge ordered that he can go and look at the internal affairs files for every officer involved in this case. Brad Haywood all of a sudden withdraw. He doesn't even want to look at it.
He doesn't want to look. We say, is he actively being threatened? It's not like we're not going to come up to an answer that is yes, he was threatened, or yeah, the police threatened him and he's not allowed to do something. Let's analyze his actions. Let's take a look at his actions.
I find it interesting.
And what he says.
What lawyer gets threatened, gets a phone call, gets threatened, and doesn't report the threat.
He doesn't report it.
I mean, the only thing I can assume is that you complied to that threat. If you're not reporting it,
you complied with the threat.
You complied with the threat.
Okay. So, I mean, today, like, just reading the notes from today's hearing, being in that courtroom, you know, if it felt like Mustafa was going up against two prosecutors, Prosecutor Haywood and Prosecutor Sammy. Because, I mean, we're going to go through the points of what this prosecutor is doing, what Brad Haywood is doing. And I'll start off with...
Mustafa had no defense in that courtroom.
I'll start off with something very important and something that we have validated on this podcast multiple times through body cams. We know that Sarah Sammy is deeply, deeply invested in a mental health person to come in and write Mustafa off. We know that for a fact. I mean, it's no question. People saw the body cam with Casey Stevens, what Drum told him about the mental health, and what Prosecutor Sammy attempted to do when Casey Stevens was fired. And I'll remind everybody, because it's not on the transcript, but when Casey Stevens was thrown off the case, when he was fired, Prosecutor Sammy asked Judge Weimer, she said, Your Honor, I want to go forward with this mental health evaluation. And she wanted somebody from the county to do it. And Judge Weimer said, now that he doesn't have a lawyer, we're not doing anything with mental health. We're not doing anything on this case until Mustafa gets a lawyer, unless he has representation. He said, and Sarah Sammy was so upset.
Yeah.
She was so angry that she couldn't get what she wanted with this mental health evaluation. And today in court, what is going on today in court? I'll tell you what's going on. Brad Haywood is apparently having backdoor conversations with Prosecutor Sammy about an expert that put in a sworn affidavit about Mustafa's actions.
Dr. Speckard.
And what she specifically wrote about after she watched the dash camera and her testimony, this is a sworn affidavit. She says,
I watched the dash camera. I reviewed the material in this case, the evidence in this case. And Mustafa's reaction on that dash camera is consistent with someone that's avoiding the vehicle accident.
Okay,
that's a sworn affidavit.
That's her testimony. And Prosecutor Sammy and Brad Haywood are having backdoor conversations about what they're going to exclude from Speckard's testimony.
The Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, she says, I want to exclude the affidavit of Dr. Specker. And then Brad Haywood, he tells Judge Weimer, Your Honor, I want to bring her in for something completely different. Wait a minute. So the last phone call that I had with Brad is he told me that he just got off. He just got off the phone with the prosecutor or meeting with the prosecutor.
He got off the phone with
the prosecutor, and all of a sudden he's telling me that he wants Mustafa to call him, and what he wants to do is bring in Dr. Specker, have her sit down with Mustafa, and he says Mustafa has ADHD. We're gonna have Dr. Specker sit down with Mustafa and tell the jury that Mustafa has ADHD, and this accident is because of his ADHD. You didn't put on...
I'll take care of it.
Okay. So, a very interesting phone call with Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood. He says, I got off the phone with the prosecutor. All of a sudden, he tells me, he says, the prosecutor is actually working with me. So I'm thinking about removing a lot of the Brady motions that I put forward in front of Judge Weimer. I'm like, what are you talking about? Body cams are missing. Children are weaponized. Vehicle blocked from getting reconstructed. What are you talking about?
Look, without going into the details.
Without going into the details, he wants to bring Dr. Specker and then have Mustafa written off as that this accident happened because Mustafa has ADHD.
Here's the problem. Yeah. Here's the problem. Okay, the problem is your own lawyer, okay, is making backdoor deals with a lying prosecutor, okay? Obviously, the prosecutor does not have Mustafa's interest at heart.
He's doing what the prosecutor wants to do.
Okay, so the problem here is, why does the prosecutor know more about your strategy than your own client? We're not going to go into details of what Speckard wants to do, what whoever wants to do.
Mustafa's telling Brad. He's like, Brad, why are you prioritizing a psychiatrist to come in who already, you want to remove the affidavit?
By the way,
who already gave a statement. I mean, she already reviewed the evidence. She says she put on an affidavit. You're telling me that you want to remove the affidavit? You want to bring her in? I have no problem sitting down with Dr. Specker, but why are you prioritizing the evidence? Why are you prioritizing Dr. Specker before you come out with the extraction of my SD card for the dash camera? Before you come out with the reconstruction of my vehicle accident? Where are those evidence? And he says, Mustafa tells Brad Haywood, he tells him, I want to sit down with the psychiatrist after she sees this material.
You asked, why is Brad Haywood so invested in Speckard meeting with Mustafa, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to look further than what Brad Haywood said today. He said that there's a motion in limine to exclude Speckard's testimony, and that's in agreement with the prosecutor.
Beautiful.
Let's be real. Speckard's testimony is like 2 pages. What does she say? She says she looked at the dash cam. She reviewed the evidence in this case that was supplied to her by Blake Weiner, Mustafa's previous attorney, and she wrote a sworn affidavit saying that this is a car accident. Now, you want to tell me today Brad Haywood is in lockstep with the prosecutor filing a motion in limine to exclude Speckard's testimony?
Shouldn't he oppose? Shouldn't he oppose the prosecutor's motion to remove Dr. Specker affidavit that your client is innocent and that this is a car accident? So instead, you're agreeing with her.
It's no longer a theory. Exactly. It's no longer a theory that whatever Speckard wrote, the prosecutor doesn't like it, and Brad Haywood doesn't like it.
Brad Haywood doesn't like it.
It's not that he doesn't like it, but he's doing the bidding of
the prosecutor.
And that's clear as day. I mean, again, like I said earlier, are we going to get a yes or no answer to these questions? Of course not. But we can analyze the decisions being made. We can analyze what people say, and you make your own decision.
When your own defense attorney wants to remove the affidavit that the doctor, the psychiatrist is saying, hey, I looked at the evidence.
This is a car accident.
I looked at the dash camera, and this is a car accident. So your defense attorney wants to remove it from the file.
What part of that does Brad Haywood not like? What part of that does he want to remove? It's 2 pages, by the way. What part of Speckard's testimony do you want to remove? That's the real question. And the real question is, honestly, why are you not telling your client
what you want to do?
This is what you want to do.
By the way, this is what we had to find out.
Why does your client have to hear it in court?
That is crazy.
Why does your client have to hear about it in court?
You're setting up Mustafa.
And then you don't call him. You don't talk to him about it. And you want to say there's a mistrust. There's a broken communication. There's no communication. The real thing is your client is sitting in jail. He's sitting in solitary confinement. The only information he's going to get is from a phone call from you.
I mean, if Brad Haywood really believed that Mustafa has ADHD, and he wants to bring in the psychiatrist and have her write Mustafa say the accident happened because of his age. What the fuck are you talking about?
By the way, Sammy's not.
Wait a minute.
She's not opposing Speckard removing her testimony. She's not opposed. It looks like that's what she wants to do. That's what she wanted to do from day one. And actually, I think the prosecutors are pissed that Speckard put this testimony in, that she put in this sworn affidavit.
Of course.
And Brad Haywood is helping them get rid of that affidavit.
So wait a minute. So you don't look at the reconstruction of the vehicle accident. There's a judge order and there is money on the table for an independent expert. I mean, he told Judge Weimer.
This whole case is about a car accident. Again,
he told Judge Weimer, Your Honor, we can wait until the last minute to do the reconstruction. Why is that not a priority?
The case is built on this car accident.
Why is that not a priority for Brad Haywood?
What did Blake Weiner say to NBC? He said the foundation of this case is built on this dash camera and this car accident. The foundation of the case,
I'll tell you something that's really
is built on a falsified report.
Mustafa is asking for the extraction of his dash camera. And we can go into the dash camera. I think well, before we go into the dash camera, I want to play a video where 2.5 years ago, Mustafa's defense attorney and the investigator, Robert Drum, who falsified Mustafa's statement, is sitting there conspiring against Mustafa after a correctional officer beat him up in jail, is sitting there conspiring on how they're going to bring in the psychiatrist and write Mustafa off as incompetent. So that way he doesn't testify in court. That you don't have to look at the reconstruction, you don't have to look at the dash camera. They're sitting there. I mean, in what world do you have your defense attorney? And it's not a theory when I have the body cam.
And it's not a theory when she's not objecting to Speckard being the doctor of choice. Because according to last year's hearing, Judge Weimer refused to give $4,000 to Speckard. He said, you can bring any other expert, but not Speckard. And by the way, at the time, Speckard put in a sworn affidavit as to her findings. And Judge Weimer said, no way. No way is the government going to pay $4,000 for Speckard. No way. I mean, you can read it in the transcript. Now, all of a sudden, the prosecutor is not objecting to Speckard getting $18,000. Why? It's because they have a plan going forward. They have a plan, which is a motion in limine to exclude Speckard's testimony. What exactly are you trying to exclude? And what are you and the prosecutor, what are you guys agreeing to behind closed doors? What are you agreeing to in the dark without the defendant's knowledge, without your client's knowledge? You're having backdoor deals with the prosecutor. All of a sudden, you're withdrawing your Brady motions. Oh, you don't need the body cams anymore because the prosecutor tricked you, because she fooled you. I mean, look, let's talk about. I want to shift a little bit to the dash cam issue.
I want to play the body cam where Robert Drum is the investigator sitting down with Casey Stevens, the first defense attorney that we found out that has a relationship with the police, with the investigator, took our money and was working against Mustafa for the police department. And today, Brad Haywood is doing the same thing.
He's doing the bidding. Yeah, he's doing what Casey Stevens tried to do.
Yeah, so let me play, let's see, 14. There we go.
How's Moses doing?
So context before we go into, we're telling Casey Stevens, we have evidence that this investigator falsified Mustafa's statement, which is the foundation of the case. This investigator said, Mustafa, you told me you were arguing inside the vehicle. We have a recording that Mustafa never said that. This investigator falsified Mustafa's statements. So we're telling this defense attorney, Casey Stevens, that we're going to release this information on the internet. We want to go to internal affairs. We want to release this information on the internet. And this defense attorney, Casey Stevens, is blocking us every step of the way. And and he takes it further, threatens us from going forward. All of a sudden, Mustafa gets beaten up inside the jail. We have a CCTV video where Mustafa is dragged by a correctional officer. They beat him inside the cell. They drag him unconscious, half naked from one cell into another cell. And then they beat him, abuse him in the second cell. So we have a CCTV video. So that takes place. This is a body cam where after the beating, the investigator that falsified Mustafa's statement, Robert Drum, is telling the defense attorney, how is Mustafa? And then they're conspiring on how they're going to write Mustafa off as incompetent. They're going to bring in the psychiatrist, write Mustafa off as incompetent so they can do whatever they want with Mustafa. They don't have to look at the evidence anymore. They don't have to look at the dash camera. They don't have to look at the reconstruction of the vehicle accident. They're just going to write Mustafa off as incompetent. And the question is, this literally took place on body cam 2.5 years ago. And today we find Mustafa's defense attorney, Brad Haywood, doing the prosecutor's bidding, doing the police department's bidding. He wants to do the same thing. Let's watch the body cam.
I don't think he's doing very well.
How's Moses doing?
I don't think he's doing very well.
How'd that competency thing come back?
Haven't gotten it back yet. They're taking forever to get to it. Because I think I filed that a month ago. They finally got, at first they were wanting to continue the case so they could get it done, and then like the same day in the afternoon they finally got somebody. They didn't have anybody to do it. I think somebody just bureaucratic dropped the ball somewhere for a little bit. But it's, my guess is it's likely to be continued. They got Susan Frank is the psychologist who's doing it, and she in my experience tends to be very last minute on shit. You know, you're getting stuff, you know, the night before, type stuff. So that wouldn't surprise me. She ended up needing more time. We did.
The conversation doesn't end there. Robert Drum waits just about a good 5-10 minutes, and then he brings up the subject again. He's pressing this defense attorney. Are we going to get this competency test done? Can we write him off as incompetent? Let's fast forward. And by the way, this is Mustafa's defense attorney. This is Mustafa's defense attorney. Right here is a prosecutor. Another prosecutor. So there are 3 prosecutors on this case.
Casey Stevens.
Well, here you have 4 prosecutors. Your lawyer is not your lawyer. Your lawyer is a prosecutor. When you're sitting there conspiring and with the investigator that falsified your statement, the foundation of the case, you are a prosecutor. You have a prosecutor in the background, Sarah Sammy and Stephanie Buck. So let's continue.
By the way, here Robert Drum is pretending to cry like he's all emotional to try to get Casey Stevens
Do you
on
have any
board.
idea where it's going to be continued to?
What? Do you have any idea when it's going to be continued to?
Random.
Why are you so interested to write Mustafa off as incompetent?
Like,
I mean, let's
did
continue.
you hear the
Let's continue.
silence?
Yeah.
And then he's still thinking about it?
Yep.
It got kicked when I went in to get the court to order the evaluations. Then they kicked it to the mental health docket, which is not a hearing docket, and that's kind of where it's sitting at the moment for the report to come back.
Okay.
Look, the bottom line
he'll have
is
to update
this
Sammy
is
on that.
literally 2.5 years ago, and today we have Brad Haywood
Doing the same
doing
thing.
the bidding of the prosecutor.
Doing the same exact thing Casey Stevens did.
Now,
I mean, what don't you like about Speckard's testimony that you want to have a motion and limine to remove her testimony? What exactly do you not like about her affidavit?
it is
what
not,
don't you like?
I mean, with this file that's sealed 2.5 years ago, now we have body cams and a whole entire discovery being all over the internet. We see what Prosecutor Sarah Sammy has been done in this case. We see what she's done. She brought in individuals to manufacture probable cause about Mustafa and sealed off those body cams, the forensic interviews, the body cams. And now when we're watching the body cams and we're watching the forensic interviews, literally the individuals that Prosecutor Sarasami brought literally on a body cam say, we didn't see anything. We're manufacturing a story. And that's why the prosecutor sealed off this case. Now, you can't convict Mustafa with murder. I mean, the dash camera show that he did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident.
The data recorder.
The dash camera showed there is no argument inside the vehicle. The data recorder showed that Mustafa's foot was on the brake the whole entire time. I have the data that shows Mustafa's steering angle is turning away from the vehicle.
Counterclockwise. To the left.
Counterclockwise.
To the left.
Wait a
away
minute.
from the car.
Wait a minute. Mustafa's steering angle is counterclockwise away from all the vehicles.
That's
Literally, the data show that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. What this prosecutor did, she brought in individuals, had them manufacture probable cause, lie about Mustafa, and now the body cams are out. She can't say that I have credible witnesses anymore. So what does she do today?
She's going to work on his
defense attorney.
The
only way that she can convict with Mustafa with involuntary, voluntary, what is it?
Whatever she wants to charge him with.
She wants to get him to have his lawyer admit him as crazy, so that way they can just prosecute him the way. I mean, he's taking Mustafa and he's handing Mustafa to the prosecutor on a silver platter.
That's exactly what he's doing.
That's Brad Haywood for you. And if that's what Brad Haywood is doing in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, what is he doing in his other cases?
Okay, let me ask
we know that he has a civil rights organization, some fake civil rights organization, that he has actor come out on camera and he says, my name is blah, blah, blah. We'll go into it. If you go on Twitter and Facebook, you will literally see paid actors come on camera and say, my name is blah, blah. I was abused by the police. Wait a minute. If you have a civil rights organization, on the record, you say Mustafa was falsely accused by the police. My client is innocent, and my client was abused and beaten up inside the jail. Why are you not fighting for your client who was beaten up inside the jail by a correctional officer? Don't you have a civil rights organization? I have a phone call with Brad Haywood where he referenced another case, and he says the only reason that case got justice is because of media attention. Wait a minute. Not once did I have you, Brad Haywood, go on the internet and say, my client is innocent. He's being falsely accused by the police. He's being, not once, that he was beaten up inside the jail. Not once. But
so why haven't he activated his media strategy? When you ask him, what is your media strategy?
He said, I have no media strategy.
He has no media strategy. He has no media. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. But I want to touch on something. Are you done with that body cam?
Yeah, I'm done with this body cam.
I want to touch on something very important that took place today. Okay? But before I do that, I'm going to give some background into this. It's about the dash camera. And when Brad Haywood was asking Judge Weimer for funds to bring in an expert to extract the original files from the dash camera, because we know that there is audio and there is video from this dash camera. We know that there is more footage than what the police have put on evidence.com. I'll ask the question.
When you say we know, it's on the record. Officer Zymus already admitted that this dash camera does have audio. Officer Chad Mason admitted that he violated the chain of custody, took the dash camera back to his car, notified the Commonwealth attorney, and he says when he's literally pressed, how did you know it doesn't have audio? He said the Commonwealth attorney,
Sarasami
told me that it doesn't have audio. You're the officer on the scene. You're literally in possession of the dash camera. How is the prosecutor telling you that it doesn't have audio? She told you to cut the dash camera.
Instructing them to lie.
You take the dash camera back to your car. You download the files. You notify the prosecutor. You sat on them for 2 days and then got a warrant 2 days later. Well, now the problem here is the dash camera doesn't have audio. It's cut before impact. 17 frames are missing from inside the vehicle. And digital forensic, when she finally got the dash camera, admit that this dash camera has audio and has video before the 5th. That's not been uploaded to the server.
Okay, so when Brad was asking for these funds, Prosecutor Sarasami was so invested. She was so invested in also looking at the dash camera, which, by the way, she's had for 2.5 years, that not once in the last 2.5 years, not once did she tell the judge that they're going to look into the audio. Not once. Matter of fact, they went off and got a lip reader. And that day when Brad Haywood filed the Brady motion, she made sure to tell the judge that when Brad brings in his expert, I want to bring in my expert. The Commonwealth attorney wants to bring in her expert. Okay, not only Brad is going to bring in his expert, but she wants to bring her expert.
And then Judge Weimer said there was literally a whole entire back and forth about the chain of custody, how the two experts are going to come in.
They all wanted to be there. They all wanted to be there.
Exactly. The prosecutor independent expert and Brad Haywood independent expert are going to be there at the same time, extracting the metadata, the full dash camera and audio off this SD card. That was, by the way, I have the transcript.
So Judge Weimer approves the funds for Mustafa's attorney. I think $9,000, around $9,000.
Just about, yeah.
Just about $9,000. Approved to go to Mustafa's defense to bring in an expert to extract what? A dash cam with a mini SD card. By the way, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's not going to cost $9,000. But these people are going to come in because they're probably going to testify. They're probably going to put in official reports. It's a dash camera.
Digital forensic with the police department officer, Kathy Diamonds, admit that this dash camera has audio.
Listen, we're not bringing astronauts. They're not getting on a shuttle, going to the moon. This is a dash camera. We're living in a digital age. Okay? Technology is everywhere. Extracting files from a dash camera, easy peasy.
And the prosecutor all of a sudden,
easiest thing in the world.
The prosecutor all of a sudden wants also her independent expert to be there.
Okay, now, this was during that Brady motion.
September.
Everybody is so aggressive. Everybody wants to be there. They want to be there with their expert. Right. And now, by the way, today,
literally, this is just the other day, in September.
Okay, now today, the prosecutor tells the judge, she says that, well, actually, I'll take that back. Brad Haywood tells the judge that he no longer wants to bring in an expert. We find out that Brad Haywood is having offline conversations with the prosecutor, and they've both agreed to hire the prosecutor's expert. So now he no longer feels confident in his expert. He wants to rely on the prosecutor's expert. And what does she say to the judge? They're filing a joint motion. Is that right? They're filing a joint motion to take the money that was given to the defense. And Brad Haywood is saying, hey, Prosecutor Sammy, I know you've lied about a lot of things in this case. I know you've lied to the judge. I know you've lied on the record. We know you're working with the police to cover up their misconduct. But I'm going to give you the money that the judge gave me.
How does that make any sense?
To hire your expert that you chose. Not my expert. Not Mustafa's defense's expert. No, Brad Haywood all of a sudden is now entrusting in the prosecutor's expert. And by the way, at the time, when Brad was asking for this money, Sarah Sammy was so aggressive. She says, no, I want to bring in my expert.
She said that today.
Okay.
She said today, my expert will not find audio. That's what she said today. Wait a minute. I mean, Judge Weimer, by the way, he said, isn't this a conflict of interest? He told Brad Haywood. He said, wait, what do you mean? He said, you want to give the money? You want to hire the independent expert of the prosecutor? He said, Judge Weimer asked him, what happened to your independent expert?
I'm getting there. there. Look, if the prosecutor is saying to the judge that she doesn't know if she's going to hire an expert to look at the dash camera.
She says, we don't have money. She said, I didn't even file a motion for funds for my independent expert.
So she doesn't have money. They're not interested. They're not even invested in bringing money to the expert that they wanted.
I mean, she's telling you there's nothing there.
But that's after Brad Haywood said he's going to give that money to the prosecutor's expert. And Judge Weimer says, wait, isn't that a conflict since the prosecutor already talked to that expert? You don't find that as a conflict?
Brad Haywood is laughing, and he says, no, Your Honor, there is no conflict of interest.
Brad Haywood is literally in the pockets of Sarah Sammy. He does whatever Sarah Sammy tells him. And matter of fact, she says in court today, she says that she wants to get a lip reader because she's claiming that
There's no audio.
you're not going to find anything exculpatory on this dash camera. So think about it. She's already made up her mind that there's nothing on this dash camera. They're not going to bring anything out. Okay? What do you think she's telling this expert guy that she chose? What do you think she's telling him? When you come look at this dash cam, you're going to say, just like the police, no audio, nothing else. Everything is already extracted. Whatever the police have, you're going to sign off on the dotted line and say, I agree. Whatever the police got, that's it. There's nothing more to it. And Brad is going to let them get away with that?
Brad.
Again, you want to tell me Mustafa's attorney is not compromised? The courts literally gave you money for your client. And you're saying now, today, you're saying, I don't want this money. I'm not even interested.
Judge Weimer said, he said, are you telling me that you don't want an expert?
He doesn't want the money anymore.
He said, Judge Weimer said, this is your motion. You said you want an expert, and we gave you money. Are you telling me that you don't want an expert?
He doesn't want.
And he said, Brad Haywood says, Your Honor, the money that we can put it towards the case. And then the defense attorney, and then he said, Brad Haywood, Mustafa's defense attorney, says, Your Honor, I'm just going to rely on the prosecutor, independent expert. And then the prosecutor got up and she said, Your Honor, I didn't file a motion. We don't have funds for our independent expert.
She said, I don't even know if we're going to get him.
I don't know if we're going to get him. And then Brad Haywood says, we can take the money
and just put it
and then just give it to the prosecutor, independent. The judge says that's a conflict of interest.
So
that's a conflict of interest.
So now that the court is giving you funds for your client, you don't want it. By the way, again,
Brad Haywood says, I don't have confidence in my independent expert, Investa. So I'm going to rely on Doug, the prosecutor.
Find another one.
Exactly.
Find another one.
If you don't have faith in your independent expert, find an independent expert that you have faith in. Not rely on the prosecutor's independent expert that she already tainted and told. There's no audio.
By the way, you're telling me there's no experts that can extract video from an SD card? Brad Haywood can't. And his 20 plus years of being a lawyer, you don't know anybody else other than Investa that you have no trust in?
By the way, I look at Mustafa, and Mustafa is literally telling his lawyer. I mean, Mustafa was right there, and he's literally telling his lawyer, he's like, what are you doing?
What the hell are you doing? I would say the same thing. What the hell are you doing?
Where's my independent expert? Where's my expert? You're relying on her expert. I can hear Mustafa, the conversation that's taking place between Mustafa and his lawyer.
The real question, again.
And here's the thing. Why are you not consulting with Mustafa when you're making these decisions?
He's consulting with the prosecutor.
With the prosecutor. And then, I'll tell you, he had a document in his hands. So the Brady motion, when he filed the Brady motion, there's an order that has to be agreed by Mustafa, by Mustafa's lawyer and the prosecutor.
That shows what they agreed to.
Explain to me why Mustafa's defense attorney doesn't even want to give Mustafa the motion.
Order. He doesn't want to give him the order.
He doesn't even want Mustafa to look at it. And he wants Mustafa to sign blindly off on whatever he says, that he made a deal with and Mustafa's not supposed to look at it. Even the judge looked at the whole thing. He says, he ordered his deputy. He said, Mustafa, Mr. Aljazairi he's entitled to it. He gave Mustafa the copy. Your own defense attorney doesn't give you a copy. You have to wait for the judge to give you a copy.
He's hiding it. He's hiding the deals he's having with the prosecutor.
Let me tell you why he's hiding it.
He's hiding what he's doing behind closed doors.
He's hiding the order because he retracted the majority of what he said in court after he talked to the prosecutor.
He retracted.
He's no longer interested in the body cam. He's no longer interested in finding out what these officers did in falsifying this case.
Internal affairs.
Nothing.
He's not interested in it.
I mean, was that just a show on the record?
I don't know if it was a show, but I can tell you between the Brady motion and this ex parte hearing that took place, between those times, something happened. Something happened to this lawyer.
The minute he started probing into the police officer that falsified this case, he backed off.
Exactly. Why?
I mean, it sure sounds like he got threatened. He's a completely different Brad.
He's a different Brad. He's not so he's not zealous anymore. He's not fighting for his client
Zealous.
anymore.
Zealous is an understatement. What do you mean? Mustafa had two prosecutors.
He's a marshmallow.
He's absolutely a marshmallow. And I don't know what this prosecutor is doing to him.
Look, the real question that we asked at the top of this podcast is Mustafa's lawyer compromised? And again, you're not going to get a yes or no answer, but you can analyze the decisions. You can analyze what this lawyer says in court. You can see the things he's agreeing to and the things he's hiding from Mustafa. And you can come up to your own conclusion. I mean, it's very obvious when your lawyer is given funds, money given to him. By the way, you know how hard it is for a lawyer to stand in court and make the argument to the judge that I need money for my indigent client so that he can get justice, so that his due process is not violated.
And today...
And the judge barely gives you that money. And you say,
yeah, I'm just going to give it to the prosecutor's independent experts. I'm not going to use my independent expert.
Why not just give it to Kathy Zymus? Okay, or why not just give it to Drum and ask Drum for his opinion? You might as well piss it away.
Give it to the officer that falsified this case.
You might as well. I mean, that's what he's doing. Instead of saying, I'm going to bring my expert to examine. Matter of fact, $9,000, I'm going to get 2 experts just so I can make sure I get.
By the way,
2
that's what Judge
opinions.
Weimer said today. He said, wouldn't you agree the more experts you have is better? Why not have your independent expert and the prosecutor is going to have her independent expert?
Oh,
He's like, no, Your Honor. No. I'm going to rely on her. You can give the money to the prosecutor. What are you talking about?
I mean, the police can't pay every expert off. You know what I mean? If they're going to write a check to somebody that's going to come in and just sign off on the dotted line, I mean, they're not going to have the money to pay off 1, 2, 3, 4 experts. They're not going to do that. They're willing to pay off 1. And in order to do that, the lawyer has to be on board.
You know, when you say that, and I literally have a body cam.
The lawyer has to be on board.
The investigator that falsified and crushed and staged Mustafa's vehicle, literally on a body cam, telling another officer that says, we've been briefed about Mustafa. He says, Rob, I have an idea about this case, but it's going to require spending money. Do me a favor. Go over to Exhibit. There is a body cam that I want to pull up for you.
I mean, you want to talk about misconduct. It's literally in your face on body cam. It's not like, the police crushed his car. They staged it.
They're pumping money into Mustafa's case.
They falsified the case. Okay, that's corruption. What if you hear it out of their own mouth? What if the officer himself says he's going to pump money into this case? Why is Brad Haywood not probing into that officer? Okay. Why is he not looking into what interactions did this officer have with Mustafa in the last couple of months, in the last couple of years prior to the accident? Okay. Why is Duplessis and Casey Fines following Mustafa around? Why are they monitoring Mustafa? I mean, this lawyer never asked a question. You're literally saying my client is innocent. The police falsified this. They falsified that. You got a chance to look at the internal affairs reports of the reprimand of Chad Mason and Robert Drum.
Well, and now he doesn't want it anymore.
And now all of a sudden you don't want it. I mean, look.
I'm going to play a body cam for you.
By the way, it's no secret that when Mustafa gets a lawyer, the lawyer gets threatened. Okay? Because you have lawyers that come into this case. They come into this case so aggressively. Okay? And I'll name one off. Okay? Farhina Siddiqui. Okay, out of Fairfax. When we went up to her and we told her, this is the file. She looked at the file. This is the evidence we have. I mean, she was so angry. She said, they can't do that. Okay, they can't do that. Casey Stevens can't tell you to destroy evidence. I hope you didn't destroy anything. Okay, Amar, she says, okay, let's start off. Give me $15,000 and we'll start on the case. Okay, we go get a cashier's check after getting the money back from Casey Stevens. We give her a cashier's check. She disappears for 5 days. 5 days. She doesn't answer her phone. When we call, they say she's not in the office. Okay, 5 days later, she says, hey, I talked to the prosecutor and we can't take your case. Come back and get your, it's $15,000. I'm going to charge you $1,000 for sitting down with you. Get $14,000 back. Okay, but I can't take this case.
She was threatened by the police.
She was threatened by the police.
Okay,
100%.
Brad Haywood today is being threatened with the police.
She spoke to the prosecutor's office. All of a sudden, now she
I mean,
can
you're
no
talking
longer
about
take on the case.
You're talking about officers that's been there for 19 years. Officers involved in falsifying a case. And now this defense attorney is probing into these officers.
Or what if I tell you, Farhina was told, if you take this case, this is what you're going to do. You're not going to look at the phone data dump. You're not going to order a re-examination of the cars. You're not getting an expert to look at this dash camera. You're going to go with whatever we give you, and that's it. And she says, I guarantee you, she says, look, I have a long career ahead of me, just like Brad Haywood. He's just starting off his business. You think he wants to throw all that away by going up against the police? By exposing the biggest cover-up in Prince William County Police? He's not going to do that.
I'm going to play a body cam where literally on body cam, officer are talking to each other about pumping money into the Mustafa Aljazairi case. Right after they found brake failure.
Right after they found brake failure.
They're inspecting Mustafa's vehicle. They find brake failure.
And they decide to pump money into the case.
The computer inside the vehicle showed that Mustafa's foot is on the brake the whole entire time. The police inspect Mustafa's vehicle and find brake failure. Right after they find brake failure, a disturbing conversation takes place on a sealed body cam where they're talking about pumping money into the Mustafa Aljazairi case.
Okay. Did you do anything inappropriate to it?
Did you do anything inappropriate to Mustafa's vehicle?
I mean,
that's not disturbing. And
how much more clear do you want it?
And then they go in and start talking about pumping money into this case.
How much more clear do you want it? He's literally saying it. Plain English.
I mean,
did you do anything inappropriate?
If I was Mustafa's defense attorney, if I was Brad Haywood, I would probe into his communication. But instead, the Judge Weimer, denies the communication from the officers with the prosecutors, the prosecutor with the alleged witnesses. Why is that? When you have conversation, when you have a whole entire case that's falsified, when you have officer talking about pumping money into the Mustafa Aljazairi, you don't think releasing the communication to the defense attorney is relevant? Let's continue.
So again, nothing froze. Steering wheel is moving. What? I'm going to figure out that brake issue, and then then I'll be done. Hey, Rob, remind me to tell you I had an idea about this case that I thought we should imply. Imply? Is that the word? Employ. It would take spending money, though. Take what? Spending money.
Look, if this lawyer really was working for Mustafa, he would report that to the FBI. The FBI need to look into every officer and their financials that was involved in Mustafa's case. Every officer that has ever said something inappropriate, that has lied, that have destroyed evidence, that have abused children, okay, that have tampered with witnesses. The FBI needs to look into it. What kind of money was being moved around with these officers?
Instead, Mustafa's defense attorney in court screamed, "My client is innocent. My client is innocent." He said, "My client is innocent. They're falsely charging him. My client is innocent. But I cannot answer and do what he's asking me to do."
He can't do what Mustafa is asking him to do.
And I go back to the beginning of what we talked about in the beginning. Mustafa asked him for
ask him to do? What is Mustafa asking him that he just cannot do? What is it?
Where is my cell phone dump?
Okay, one.
My text communication, my girlfriend's communication. Can we go through those communication? Can we get the extraction for my dash camera.
Which we know today he's no
The
longer
audio,
wants to do.
he no longer wants to do. He's literally taking the money, giving it to you, the prosecutor, independent expert
he's
who
donating
says
it.
He's donating it.
He's donating it.
Where is my reconstruction from? This is a car accident. Did you reconstruct the vehicle?
And he
There's
wants to do it when?
Mustafa.
In February, he wants to do it.
He wants to do it
1
in
week
February.
before trial.
You know, Mustafa got to talk to Mustafa on the record. Got to
He
speak.
wants to do it 1 week before trial.
Today, Mustafa.
Wow.
Mustafa was given a chance to talk to Judge Carol Weimer. So Mustafa, on the record, said to Judge Weimer, he said, Judge Weimer, Your Honor, you gave the order to reconstruct my vehicle accident.
By the end of September.
You gave money for the independent expert. You gave an order to extract my SD card. You gave money for those independent experts. Your Honor, I'm not asking this lawyer to get off my case. I want him on my case. He's been my lawyer for a whole entire year. Now he wants to talk about no communication. I mean, we're so close to trial. I want to have a trial. That's on the record. Mustafa's telling Judge Weimer, on the record, he's telling him, I want to have a trial. We're so close to a trial. All I asked my lawyer for, the most basic thing that you ordered, Your Honor, the extraction and the reconstruction. He told me to go fuck myself.
Wow.
And he hung up on me. Hey, Mustafa's telling the judge, Your Honor, my defense attorney is telling me to go fuck myself when I'm asking him the most basic question in my case. He says, Your Honor, this is a violation of my due process. Why can't I be part of my, why can't I look at the material in my case? How can I defend myself if I'm in solitary confinement and my lawyer is keeping me in the dark? I don't know what he's talking with the prosecutor about. They're making deals and I'm not even in the loop.
It's news
I'm
to
not
everybody.
in the loop.
It's news to everybody that Brad Haywood is not going to hire an independent expert. He told you.
He told me in a phone call that he's going to hire an independent expert.
No.
He told me that.
Let's be specific.
Exactly.
Let's be specific.
I'm going to be specific. He said, Investa already went in a week ago.
Already went in a week ago.
First, he said, I'm going to use the Doug, the independent expert.
He said he's.
And then I asked him. I said, what about your independent expert? Because the government gave you money. He's like, oh, my independent expert already went in a week ago.
Interesting.
Wait a minute. Why are you giving me?
Why is he lying to you?
Two different answers.
Why is he lying? Why is this lawyer lying?
And now you find out that there is no investor. There is no investor. There is no independent expert by the lawyer.
And then Brad wants to say, my client is accusing me of working with the prosecutor. Well, it does look like you're fucking working with the prosecutor. I mean, are you surprised after everything we said today? Are you surprised that you look like you're working with the prosecutor? You told us that you hired investor. You said they either went last week or they're going next week. Something about the last week of October. Remember that? I mean, those are his words. Something about the last week of October. I think they went in last week or they're going next week. But either way, they're going to get their findings.
And then I asked him.
He said,
I told him, wait a minute.
The prosecutor is also hiring an expert. So that's
I told him, I asked him, I said, wait a minute, Brad, we just got done talking about how you're going to have all these precautions in place so that Robert Drum, the investigator that falsified the police report, Chad Mason, the investigator that cut the dash cameras, Davis, those police are not going to influence the independent experts. And he's talking about Doug. Okay, he's talking about the independent. And then I told him, you're going to have all these precautions. I said, what about your independent experts? He said, oh, he already went in last week. I'm like, wait a minute. So he's like, I have to check my email to find out exactly what day he went in. I'm like, are you telling me that your independent expert went in by himself? So what are we talking about having precautions that they're not going to taint this independent? If your independent expert already went in, you're talking about the prosecutor independent expert.
The craziest
who's already tainted.
Look, forget that story.
And then you find out that there is no independent. Why are you lying to me?
The craziest part is, why is he lying? Nobody went in. He's talking about it today. He's saying he's taking the $9,000.
You know what he told Mustafa today? He told Mustafa today, Mustafa, you have two independent experts. You have Investa and...
That's what he told him today.
That's what he told him today. He's fucking lying to him. I mean, does he think Mustafa is stupid? Does he think we are stupid? Does he think this community is stupid? I mean, if that's what he's doing in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, God help his other clients.
You know, I'll say there's still a chance to turn all this around. But I just want to cover one last thing on my list. I want to ask the question. When Mustafa asked this lawyer, I want my hard drive to the data dump from the cell phones. I want to know the car inspection and the dash camera. Okay. The lawyer tells him, you're not entitled to anything. You are not entitled to anything. Matter of fact, he goes
on a phone call. He told me the same thing, that Mustafa is not entitled to anything.
Okay. He goes further and says, all you can say is whether you're guilty or not. This is my case. This is Brad Haywood's case. It's not Mustafa's case. Mustafa's not on trial. This is Brad's case. Okay? Mustafa is not entitled to the discovery. By the way, where have we heard this tune before? Sarah Sammy. She's been saying all along, Mustafa is not entitled to the discovery. She says that openly in court, that he's not entitled to anything that is not exculpatory.
Why is he repeating what the prosecutor says?
He's literally repeating the same exact
sentiments
that the prosecutor is repeating. And now, by the way, when you have two parties that are saying the same exact thing, the only conclusion you could come up to is they're talking behind closed doors. Okay? I mean, there's a conversation that Brad Haywood had with you. Okay? A very disturbing conversation. I'm not going to go into any details of it. Okay? But it's literally a replica of what the prosecutor is saying. And by the way, I'll say this. It's a replica of a female that threatened us on the internet, who sure sounds like the body cam from Amy Hodson. That individual, there's a very specific statement that she made.
You're talking about Evelyn Horton.
Evelyn Horton, Christina Alkuzai, Amy Hodson. Look, on body cam, she identifies as Amy Hodson. That individual on the internet says a very, very specific accusation about Mustafa. Okay? And Brad the other day repeated that same exact. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into any details of it. But all I'm going to say is that's the individual that called. That's the individual that called and threatened him. So the real question is, who is threatening Brad Haywood?
And he sounded what he said. He's the prosecutor.
He's the prosecutor.
He repeated what the prosecutor has been telling Judge Weimer for the past 2.5 years. And the question is, why doesn't Mustafa have a defense attorney?
Why does he not have a defense attorney? I mean, look, you barely got the judge to approve funds, which is something very hard. I mean, Blake tried so hard to get $4,000 or $5,000 for Ann Speckard to testify in Mustafa's case as an expert witness. And Judge Weimer said, absolutely not. I'm not paying $5,000. He said, I'll give you $5,000 for somebody else. You got to get somebody else, not Speckard. So we know how hard it is to get funds in a criminal case, okay? Brad Haywood got $9,000, and he's literally taking the money and giving it to the prosecutor.
By the way, I mean,
there's nothing more you could. There's nothing more you could say other than Brad is a prosecutor.
I mean, do me a favor. Go over to exhibit. This is Brad Haywood repeated the same thing that he put in this motion. In this motion, he said Mustafa Aljazairi has been unjustly. This is Brad Haywood and what he filed on the record. He said Mustafa Aljazairi has been unjustly accused of murder, which was the product of a deeply biased and flawed investigation and merit violation of Aljazairi's constitutional rights. Undersigned counsel firmly believed in Mustafa Aljazairi's innocence. Now, Mustafa's defense attorney has been on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year. Today, you want to tell me out of nowhere, regrettably, Mustafa's defense attorney says, regrettably, there has been a complete and irreparable breakdown in communication between counsel and Mr. Aljazairi, which prevents counsel from providing effective, zealous representation, as is Mustafa Aljazairi, Sixth Amendment. Wait a minute. You file a Brady motion. You start probing into the police officer that falsified this case. And all of a sudden, after a year and a half, all of a sudden, you can't communicate with your client anymore. What are we talking about? What are you? It sure sounds like you got threatened.
Amar, he lied. He lied when he said Investa went in last week or they're going next week. He said, I specifically remember something about the last week of October. They're scheduled to go in. They're scheduled. It's a done deal. Well, today you're telling Judge Weimer that you have no faith in Investa. You basically don't believe that they can do anything. I mean, you got $9,000. Judge Weimer didn't say, here's $9,000 for Investa. No, he said, Brad, here's $9,000. Go find yourself an expert for your client. By the way, again, we're not hiring astronauts to go to the moon. We're not renting a space shuttle to travel to Mars. This is a dash camera with a mini SD card, which, by the way, you can go to Walmart and buy a SD card reader for like $5, plug it into any laptop, and obtain the data from the dash camera. You're not doing anything like special. You're not getting any sophisticated equipment. All you need is a laptop and a SD card reader. So the fact that he lied to you about it, that lying to your client, lying to your client's family, is what destroys the trust. That's what destroys the communication that you have. Because when I say I hired an expert and they already went in and got the extraction from the dash camera, or they're going next week, and then 3 weeks later you're lying about it. He had no intentions of sending Investa in. He had no intentions, by the way. Clearly from today's hearing, he had no intentions of having Investa or any expert go in, because he already made a deal with the prosecutor that whatever she decides, he's going to tag along, he's going to ride along. That's
what is the one thing that I asked Brad Haywood, and Brad Haywood completely shifted, as if he's a completely different person. I asked him that question on a phone call. Mustafa asked him that question, and he told him, dude, fuck off. Okay?
Wow. Interesting.
Now, Mustafa asked him for the three things: the SD card extraction, the reconstruction of the vehicle accident, and the cell phone data. The hard drive that the prosecutor has that she gave Brad Haywood with Mustafa's cell phone, dump.
And by the way, we've been asking him from February. I'm going to read you.
I mean, why? I mean, Mustafa's first defense attorney, Mustafa's second defense attorney, Mustafa's third defense attorney. Now Brad Haywood, as of there, he literally stood in court today and he said, Your Honor, I can't do what Mustafa is asking me to do.
What does he want you to do?
He wants his cell phone dump. He wants to go through his cell phone dump.
That's what it is.
Now, wait a minute. I have a transcript from November 20th, 2024. In this transcript, do me a favor. Yeah, go ahead and put it up. In this transcript, so this is November 2024, Mustafa, previous defense attorney, Brad Haywood, Blake Weiner, is telling Judge Carol Weimer, the presiding judge, he said the data extraction from multiple cell phones of two individuals in this case who have passed, as well as, I believe, like a third family phone. There might even be a fourth phone, but it's multiple cell phone, as well as, I believe, all of the data. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, one of the cell phones for my clients, and also the data extraction from the dash camera that was part of this case.
Wow.
In total, the top of my head, I believe the data extraction, it was large enough that it needed at least a 1 terabyte hard drive for the Commonwealth attorney put the data in.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
The dash cam is on this phone data extraction, and they don't want Mustafa to see it. They don't want Mustafa to see it.
This dash camera is sophisticated enough that it had an app on Mustafa's cell phone that automatically uploads the video into Mustafa. So when they downloaded the cell phone, the dash camera is with it, with the audio, with the full dash camera. So by the time when Chad Mason is talking about cutting and muting, he's on the stand that he violated the chain of custody. He took it back to his car. He downloaded the files. He cut and muted whatever.
That's what it is.
It's already on his fucking cell phone.
That's what it is.
That's why every lawyer is avoiding the cell phone dump. the dash camera that's going to show that this whole entire thing is
a car
a vehicle accident, and there is no argument inside the vehicle.
It's on the flash drive.
It's on a flash drive.
It's
I mean,
on this flash
ask yourself a question. Why is this data on a hard drive and not in this police department server, and not in evidence.com?
Very good question. And by the way, I did some research. And my research tells me it's highly unlikely that some data is put on a separate hard drive, not on the police server like evidence.com. Usually everything is on evidence.com so that it's more efficient, it's more secured, okay? And it's readily available when the prosecutors send it in as discovery. Why is Mustafa's data dump, the phone extraction, why is it on a hard drive and it's being mailed physically from one person to the next? And every person that gets it, like Elaine, gets a visit by Virginia State Police who go in and confiscate it. I mean,
I have a recording.
Why did Blake get rid of it so fast? He got rid of it. He sent it directly to Elaine and he put a target on Elaine's back. I mean, imagine. She got it on October 23rd, right? Mm-hmm. Immediately after, she's like, I'm out of this case. I'm out of the case.
I'll read the transcript. Do me a favor.
What did Brad uncover on this hard drive that he's not allowed to show Mustafa?
I asked Brad Haywood, did you go through the drive? He said, not yet. Not yet? You've been on this case for a whole entire year. Let me read you what Mustafa's previous defense attorney is telling Judge Carol Weimer, Blake Weiner, Mustafa's defense attorney, is telling the presiding judge, Judge Carol Weimer. I mean, you said he got rid of it so fast. It's literally in the transcript. Mustafa's previous defense attorney tells the presiding judge, before I specifically sent an email to Ms. Jarvis, the co-chair that was on Mustafa's case, and I said, can you help and look at this hard drive? Look at these phone dumps. There is a lot of information on it. I don't have time right now. All of a sudden, he doesn't have time. She said, yes, I FedEx it to her. So
by the way,
got the flash drive.
He's a paid lawyer, by the way. This is not a court-appointed lawyer to say, I don't have time. You are getting paid to do this job. You are literally hired. You're getting $400 an hour. And we're paying you, by the way. We are paying him. At the time, his balance was, I think, zero plus $5,000 in his trust account. So he had the funds. You don't have time. You're a paid lawyer.
He said, I FedEx it to her, Ms. Jarvis. There's a motion that we filed at some point, which the specific date on it, I don't recall it off the top of my head. I believe it was at least a month ago. To this point, never heard anything from Ms. Jarvis. On her review of it, she's now gone and not on this case. And I don't even have the hard drive still.
Wow.
I just asked Ms. Jarvis, and she said, I'll FedEx it to you. Now, hold on now. She never sent him back the hard drive because in a hearing in Warren County, she said, I was paid a visit by Virginia State Police.
They raided her office.
They raided her office, and they took the flash drive.
They took the hard drive.
So
they took Mustafa's hard drive.
Exactly.
And she could never send it back to Blake. Now, the real question is, did the prosecutor's office send Brad Haywood a new hard drive? And if he did look at it, well, he says he didn't look at it. Why not? Why haven't you looked at it? You've been on the case since February. You got over $100,000. And by the way, we were asking him, if you can't go through it, the court gave you funds for a private investigator to go sit with Mustafa, to go investigate whatever the hell you want him to investigate. Private investigator goes to visit Mustafa empty-handed with nothing. He shows up, he says, hey, Mustafa, what's on your mind today? Mustafa's looking at him like, did you bring any documents? Do you have anything with you? No, I just want to know what's on your mind today. I came all the way here from Fairfax, drove here, went through security, sat in the lobby for an hour and a half to come here and look at you and say, what's on your mind today? Why not bring the hard drive and go through with it?
A whole entire year.
Mustafa's literally begging for someone to go through this hard drive with him.
Well, we don't have to wonder what is going on here. I mean, when I have a video of Mustafa, previous defense attorney, Elaine Jarvis, literally on video says, I was threatened by the police. I'm terrified from the police. Do me a favor, go over exhibits. I want to play this video.
You just read the transcript that says that the dash cam video is on this hard drive. And now we know why it's off limits. It's a red line. Mustafa says, Brad, I want to see this. I want to see this hard drive. I want to see what's in it. If you can't show it to me, print it out and send it to me. And Brad says, no more communication. Fuck off. Fuck off, dude. That's what he tells him. I want to see my damn hard drive. I'm being accused. I'm entitled to look at exculpatory evidence out of my cell phone, out of my girlfriend's cell phone. Where's the hard drive? Fuck off, dude. No more communication. I'm withdrawn from this case. He's withdrawn from the case.
I'm gonna play a video for you that's gonna drive the point home. When Mustafa's previous defense attorney is talking about being threatened by the police, you don't have to take my word for it. I literally have a video.
Looking at, but I'm looking at losing my bar license. I'm looking at jail time, doing jail because they stole from me.
I was confused on how everything. I mean, last time I was here and I spoke to you, you know what I'm saying. You were going after David, after the 100%. Person. And I was where the person was located out. So I just
in civil court, Omar stood up and told the judge that he was going to defy the preliminary injunction, that he was going to release all the videos. And he told them that on November 1st. And at that point, that's when I had to fire him, because what he was threatening to release is under a protective order. I signed the protective order. He's releasing all this crap on the internet about his brother's case. All kinds of videos that he has no right to be releasing. He's also releasing basically gore porn of Tatiana David, who got killed by the Virginia State Police.
Tatiana David, who was killed by the Virginia State Police. Listen to what she's talking about.
Interesting.
She's talking about body cams where to show police that visited her office and took the body cam of Tatiana David and Mustafa's hard drive. Listen.
And he's released all of that. None of that should be released. Tatiana David should not be on with her breast bare. That is not
and
right.
That motherfucker who they're charging should not be the one being fully charged either.
It's the state
and that they
police.
put for another year.
And I've told the Virginia State Police that I'm afraid they're going to kill me because I've spoken out about it. And I'm still afraid they're going to
Keep playing it.
Kill me now. I'm afraid they're going to railroad me and set me up. I told the Virginia State Police that I'm afraid they're going to kill me. And I've told the Virginia State Police that I'm afraid they're going to kill me because I've spoken out about it. And I'm still afraid they're going to kill me. Now I'm afraid they're going to railroad me and set me up for something that I have not done.
You're afraid of who?
The Virginia State Police. Okay. I'm afraid of the police.
Gotcha.
I'm afraid of the police.
Afraid of the police.
I am 53 years old. I have never been in trouble. You can look up my record.
And I don't trust
Mustafa's lawyer.
And all of a sudden,
Mustafa's lawyer is threatened by the police. The same police that falsified this case. The same police that Judge Weimer refused to release the communication with the prosecutor. The same police. I mean, the real question is, Brad Haywood, did you get threatened by the police? The same police that ran Elaine Jarvis out of Mustafa's case, that made Elaine just run and never look back. Okay? The same police that Mustafa's other attorney says, you want me to end up like your brother? And we're like, what do you mean? You're a lawyer. Aren't you going to defend Mustafa against these falsified reports? He's like, yeah, but there's a limit. I mean, like, look at your brother.
Look what they're doing to your brother.
Look at what they're doing to your brother. I don't have a family like you guys that's going to stand out here and scream my name.
You're talking about Blake Weiner.
Mustafa's lawyers have literally been threatened by the police, and they withdrew because they were threatened by the police.
The bottom line is this should be an open and shut case. You can reconstruct the vehicle. There's a judge order. Judge Weimer ordered the reconstruction of the vehicle.
And gave the money for it.
And gave the money for an independent expert. The question is, where is the results? That's a question for Brad Haywood. The Judge Carol Weimer, ordered an independent expert to go in and extract the SD card off the dash camera that's in the police possession. and gave the money for an independent expert. Where is the results? Where is the dash camera with the audio? The prosecutor, 2.5 years ago, blocked the reconstruction of the vehicle. This is not a debate. I have the body cam where literally on body cam, she's blocking the reconstruction. And for the prosecutor that says and screams that Mustafa is guilty, what is a prosecutor blocking the reconstruction of a vehicle accident? I mean, this should be an open and shut case. Is this, you're saying that it's intentional? Well, let's help you prosecute Mustafa. Let's reconstruct the vehicle accident and find out, is this intentional? Is this an accident? Let's extract the SD cards and listen to the audio. Instead, you are blocking the reconstruction and the extraction.
Brad said, Mustafa, my client, Your Honor, he's asking me for things I just can't do. I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay? Let's analyze the three things, and people can go back through this podcast and they can decide on their own. Okay? Brad is a very
what they're
popular lawyer. He's very well known.
I want to put this on the screen, by the way.
Before you put that up, I just want to say, Mustafa asked for 1, 2, and 3. Brad Haywood says, Your Honor, he's asking me for things I just can't do. Number 1, vehicle reconstruction. The government paid you for it. The government paid you for it. Dashcam files, an expert to go in and get the dashcam original files. The government paid you to do it. The judge granted an order for your experts to go in and examine and retrieve the dashcam files. That, by the way, Prince William County Digital Forensics says there is audio. They have those files. So we're asking, where is your expert that you told us we're going in last week, 3 weeks ago? Number 3, the hard drive with Mustafa's data dump. Exculpatory evidence is all over it. When Dorothy Apple paid him for the gas.
What do you mean? There's an app where it downloads the home videos, the Google Nest videos, into his cell phone.
The Google Nest videos.
It shows what kind of relationship they have with Mustafa, his family with Mustafa.
By the way, Alexa, that records every conversation when the kids talk to Alexa.
They're terrified because the Google Nest videos show. By the way, we have the Google Nest videos, and they've had it for 2.5 years.
What I'm trying to say is 1, 2, 3. Brad, why can't you do these things? I mean, you can turn this whole thing around. Why can't you do 1, 2, and 3? You have every right to do it. It's in your client's best interest to do it. But yet, you're sitting here, okay, making backdoor deals behind closed doors with the prosecutor, trying to bring in a psychiatrist who already put an affidavit. Okay, I mean, Lucy Guarinera didn't look at anything. She didn't interview Glenn Ford. She didn't interview the children. She didn't interview Kylie Clapp. She wrote a whole essay, 26 pages, and gave it to the court. And the court said, stamp, we'll take it, certified. We'll take that to trial. Okay? Bruce Safinsky looked at a portion of the dash camera. A portion. And wrote like a whole page about how Dorothy says, I want to get out of the effing car. Okay? He wrote a whole page. They stamped it, sealed it, off to the jury it goes. Yet, Ann Speckard, who examined the dash camera and says, actually, Mustafa's reaction in the car is consistent with someone trying to avoid an accident and someone being faced with a serious situation. It's normal. It's normal for people to be like that. To whatever I saw in that dash camera, it's consistent in my experience, in her experience, okay? This is something that somebody would normally go through, okay? She wrote an affidavit, and she's willing to come into court and testify. Why are you trying to bring her back in lockstep with the prosecutor?
He said today, I'm not bringing her in because the prosecutor wants to remove the affidavit.
She wants to remove
where
the affidavit.
Dr. Specker said, this is consistent. I've looked at the dash camera. I looked at the evidence. Mustafa's reaction is consistent with a vehicle accident. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy wants to remove it. Brad Haywood gets up and tells Judge Weimer, Your Honor, I'm not bringing Dr. Specker for that. You can remove it. I'm bringing her for something else.
Something else. And why does your client not know about this something else? What is the something else?
He's setting up Mustafa.
What is the something else? I mean, explain it to your client. Why? Mustafa said today, he said, Your Honor, I just want transparency. I want my defense attorney to be transparent with me. When I ask him a question, I would like an honest answer. And if you don't have the answer, tell me I'm going to get you the answer next week. I'm going to get it in 2, 3, a month. But at least be honest with me. Don't lie to me. Okay? I mean, I find it funny that Brad said, I'm not going to talk to the family anymore. You mean the family that you flat out lied to? You lied to us. You flat out lied to us. Okay? Given the experience that we've had with other lawyers who've also lied, and we have body cam to prove it, that they've been conspiring with the prosecutor, you're literally doing the same thing. You're telling us that you were going to do 1, 2, and 3, and you're not doing it. Today, you showed up in court, and you're not bringing the expert. You're not doing this. You're not doing that.
What do you mean? He said, I'm not doing anything. He said, I didn't do anything.
I mean, as a
he
matter
told
of fact,
Judge Weimer, I didn't do anything.
He's doing everything that the prosecutor wanted. Bro, we're in November.
What have you done for a whole entire year?
Trial is right around the corner. You took $100,000. What did you do with it? If you didn't even go through the phone data hard drive, if you didn't even do that, that's the most basic. That is the most. I mean, the prosecutor alleged Mustafa was arguing with Dorothy. Mustafa says, no, Dorothy gave me money to put gas to drive her to the cemetery. That's exculpatory evidence. That's the first thing you should look at. This is the foundation of the case.
This is a body cam. Do me a favor. Go. I have a body cam where literally Mustafa's reconstruction is being blocked by the prosecutor.
The prosecutor lied.
And I'm going to show you the data from Mustafa's vehicle, why they're blocking the reconstruction of the vehicle. By the way, there's a judge order to reconstruct the vehicle. We paid $5,000 for an independent expert to go in and reconstruct this vehicle, only to have the same officer, Robert Drum, tell the independent experts, the prosecutor, Sarah Sammy, says, you cannot reconstruct this vehicle. Listen.
Which one is it? What's that? Which one is it? It's in the box. Per my conversation with Sarah, said this is the first time I've ever done this in 18 years. She said we can pull it out for you.
Yeah.
You can look at it. She doesn't want anybody touching it.
Okay.
Like touching it, I mean, can I?
They've already crushed
Like
it.
if you want to take pictures and all that, but if anything needs to be manipulated,
Okay.
we'll do it.
You can take picture of it because
don't
what
want
they've
anybody touching
done,
it.
they took the vehicle. We have pictures of the vehicle at the scene.
They chopped it up.
They chopped it, crushed it, staged it. So now you have an independent expert. They removed the original scan.
You can look, but you can't touch.
They removed the Leica scan, the Faro scan, the scan that tells you the whole entire where the impact happened, and they want this guy to only scan it. You can't touch it. You can't reconstruct it. You can only scan the vehicle that we crushed. Wait a minute. Let me show you.
By the way,
what the data inside the computer show. This is Mustafa's data recorder. The prosecutor for 2.5 years claimed that Mustafa drove into the SUV. Why am I looking at a EDR data, the computer inside Mustafa's vehicle, where it shows steering inputs? Steering wheel turned counterclockwise.
Wow.
Away from the vehicle.
Contradicting what Robert Drum put in the warrant.
Contradicting what Robert Drum, the investigator, put in the warrant. Now,
he lied.
No wonder this prosecutor wants to avoid reconstructing the vehicle. I mean, 2.5 years, they haven't reconstructed a vehicle accident? Are you kidding me? And today, the judge gave money. There's an independent, but the lawyer is not interested.
He wants to give the money to the prosecutor. Give it to the prosecutor. Donate it to the prosecutor. I mean, might as well give it to Drum. Really, like give the money to the police department and say, "Hey, guys, I'm on your side. I'm a prosecutor too."
You know, I had a conversation with you before the podcast, and I mean, today, Prosecutor Sarah Sammy was pushing that Mustafa. She wanted Brad Haywood off the case and that Mustafa represent himself pro se. Mm-hmm. Okay? And Brad Haywood wanted to get off the case. He kept on screaming, Mustafa's innocent, Your Honor. Mustafa's innocent. But I don't want to be on this case.
Be off the case.
I mean, it's absolutely. It sounds like you got threatened. Now,
100% he got threatened.
Now, what
100%.
Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, she wants to fuck Mustafa over without a lawyer.
Without a lawyer.
If he goes pro se, he's not a lawyer. Mustafa's not a lawyer. Okay? And Brad Haywood, he knows that they can't fuck over his client without fucking him in the process.
Without fucking his reputation.
Without fucking his reputation in the process.
I mean, he says
that's why he wants to get off the case.
His reputation.
You know what he told the judge? He said, Your Honor, it's Mustafa. Even if you force me to be on this case, it's like Mustafa doesn't even have a lawyer. He literally said that.
I mean, that explains why he's doing everything the prosecutor wants. He's literally sitting in the prosecutor's pocket. He's in the prosecutor's pockets. Okay,
we're going to continue.
Her pocket.
We're going to continue to monitor what Brad Haywood does in Mustafa's case. And unfortunately for Brad Haywood, you sat on Mustafa's case for a whole entire year. If you think that you're going to be doing the bidding of Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, Brad Haywood, Mustafa has a giant podcast. We're going to continue to monitor this case in this community, even though NBC4 is not reporting on the Mustafa Aljazairi case.
I wonder why.
Mustafa has a podcast where I have the body cams, I have the whole entire discovery, and now that the motions are being unsealed, the transcripts, the motions, the federal government is watching what goes on inside the courts. And we're going to continue to report on the Mustafa Aljazairi case. And we're not going to say that you're working for the prosecutor. We're going to continue to report on what goes on in the Mustafa Aljazairi case. And the community is the deciding factor. Today, the judge ordered that you cannot withdraw from the case. And Mustafa is asking you to not withdraw from the case. Mustafa told Judge Carol Weimer, Judge Carol Weimer, this defense attorney has been on my case for a whole entire year. I want to make it to trial. All I'm asking him is the most basic questions you can ask in this case. Where is my reconstruction of the vehicle accident? Your Honor, you ordered the reconstruction. You gave money for an independent expert. Where are the results from my reconstruction, from my vehicle reconstruction? Where are the results from the extraction of my dash camera? You ordered and gave money for an independent expert. I don't think that's too much to ask. Literally, that's what Mustafa is telling Judge Carol Weimer. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with my defense attorney. I want the results. I'm kept in the dark. I'm in solitary confinement. I'm kept from being in the loop. This is a violation of my due process. On that note, I want to thank Muhammad for being here. Thank you for being here.
It's pleasure. It's tough. You know, I know it's tough on Brad too, because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, think about it. You got 10 people from internal affairs breathing down your neck, looking at you. You live in this community.
I just don't appreciate being lied to. I have multiple. I have a lot of phone calls with Brad. I have a lot of text messages with Brad, and from what I understood is that we have a great relationship. Overnight, after you sit down with the prosecutor, after the Brady motion, you're a completely different person. And it sure sounds like you got threatened. All of a sudden, you're lying to the family. That's unacceptable. Lying to your client, keeping your client in the dark, that's unacceptable. And if that's what you're doing in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, God help your other client. We're going to continue to report on what you do in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, and
we pray for him. We honestly pray that he, I don't know what he does, get back on track, do the right thing. But the government paid you money. You promised your client you were going to execute 1, 2, and 3, and we'll be waiting.
On that note,
we'll be waiting.
We will be waiting, and we will continue to monitor and report on the Mustafa Aljazairi case. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cam. Judge Carol Weimer, Brad Haywood. You are under the microscope.
If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.
Okay.
You can't do it, is what I'm telling you. You cannot do it. I will have to move to withdraw from the case.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay. If any of that is posted anywhere on the internet, we're going to have problems. Whatever copies have been made of that, those need to be destroyed.
Okay.
Okay? If they get disclosed, that is going to put me in a situation where I will have to withdraw from the case.
Okay.
If you disclose that information in any way, all of it needs to be destroyed now. But if you disclose it in any way, it's going to put me in a position where I will have to withdraw from the case. If you all choose to go on the internet and try to publicize this stuff, that's going to create real problems.